And welcome back to ScavTalk, everyone. Today's episode, we're discussing the hotfix patch that is coming up here with a bunch of Tarkov fixes, followed by we're discussing changes of traders, SMGs, which SMG you should be using, some of the new ammos, how they've been performing, and various other musings about the Tarkov white progression. So, how's it going, Giga? Been up to?
Going good. Been progressing. Just chilled out a little bit compared to the previous couple of weeks. Kind of took a little bit of a breather, to double down because we've been going pretty hard. So managed to reach level, I don't even know what level I am now, level 32. We're doing Punisher and stuff like that. So it's been survival rate dropping from the mighty 70s down into the mid to, and slowly, quickly achieving low 60s, but we'll see. We had some terrible times on Shoreline, but it's been okay in general. Been okay. Have you managed to play much more? Have you been on the full Armored Core train the last week or so?
I've been on the train. I've been feeling the Tarkov itch, but I've been trying to resist as much as possible, successfully thus far.
There's so many new games right now that people are wanting to jump in and do, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And that including like Starfield's like it's really literally today. Was it like today or like last night? I think it was a combination.
Yeah, I think there's like some early release stuff. People got access. I don't really know. But Starfield's really popular. Of course you got Baldur's Gate. That's like still I've seen people playing it, which I want to play. It seems like a really good year for games thus far.
I think so, yeah. And then, I guess we had like Diablo before that. So there's like a ton of people playing all sorts of different things. And in a bit of the same way as like Baldur's Gate was just everybody was surprised as to how good it was. And it's almost become kind of like, industry surprising in terms of how decent it was. I think it just goes to show these days how waiting a little bit to see how these things perform before buying often ends up being really good. Unless you are like super hyped about something particularly and you're going to buy it no matter what, then I don't know. I just think there's too many disappointments now, so I think it's better to wait. So like things like Starfield, I feel like we were just talking about it, but I feel like it's one of those games that I probably would like, but I just don't trust any dev now to make something. Like you just don't know what the feel is going to be like, and there's some early reviews coming out saying it's a bit slow at the start, and some people are loving it. It's like very mixed. So I'm reserving judgment. I'll wait and see what happens, I think.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm kind of I'm not like, I didn't hear the announcement and just go like, oh my God, it didn't really like resonate with me, but, if the reviews are good, it's something I'll check out. Just like, Cyberpunk, what is it? 2070, 2477? I don't know, whatever. The Cyberpunk game, it's like getting a DLC update. They've like been slowly actually fixing the game. Yeah. So, and then a lot of people are like excited about that. I wouldn't mind playing it at some point. Maybe once the DLC comes out and some time goes by, I'll revisit it because I've heard a lot of good things about it. But
yeah, it's another one of those. It's kind of on the backlog of the lists of things that I saw the terrible reviews and the performance and all that, and just didn't want to be a part of. So yeah, you get to play it, a few years later once it's all sorted and things are great. I think like apparently No Man's Sky is a bit like that. Again, another one that I haven't played. That was really slated on launch, and then they redesigned loads of the systems and stuff. And I kind of would like to go and play again, but there's only so much time in the day. This is the issue that I have. There's this big backlog of stuff I want to do, but it's just hard to it's hard to get the time to want to do it. But yeah, so Tarkov has been going all right. I think there are some grumblings this wipe about bugs and things coming back. I know I've had some like private conversations as well with just like various members of my community about things that are just really annoying. Like last wipe was, it's the streets patch and they changed lots of stuff and it was unprecedented in terms of the scope of the new map and blah, blah, blah. And they had all these other things that they were doing for laying the ground for networking and everything, which led to invisible players and all sorts of horrible things, right? Which was kind of like either old bugs in a new form, but like in a totally new form, or just completely new stuff that's just broken. Whereas I think this wipe seems to be some of the more basic technical aspects that just seem to be failing that we've seen in this exact format previously, which is annoying. Like I myself have had the busy hands bug, which is the, you reload a pit. I think I maybe talked about this last time. You reload a gun and then you get stuck as the mag's going back in, you just get stuck and you can't do anything. You can't drop it. You can't move it. You can't use meds. You can't do anything. And the only thing you could do is try to find somewhere to hide, lie in a bush, DC, and then reconnect to the game. But because Tarkov takes such an, a relentlessly long time to load, it can be quite brutal. So I managed to fix mine, but I know some other people who were not able to. And there's there's other things as well. Like I know there was a really big one. I mean, we'll go through the list because basically this is the preamble to the official Tarkov account releasing a list of all the things they're coming on to fix, and I think this is one of them in there. But there was a bunch of things like people were getting back-end errors. Back-end errors have been quite bad on and off through this wipe. They were actually okay at the start, and they seem to have got worse as time's gone on, weirdly. Like, it was actually one of the cleanest wipes for me. I know some people were having issues. Maybe that was kind of like US evening, where it's like the busiest. But for me, I was not having that many issues, even though I was playing into the evening. And but yeah, the back-end issue seems to have got quite bad. And some people were finishing quests like Punisher Part 6 and like not getting the Epsilon case and stuff. So it was... things like that are quite... they're not new features, and I think that's why people are... I'd still rather take this wipe over last wipe for sure, but some of these things are a little bit hard to sympathize and hard to understand, like, why they're in the game. It's just like random bugs have appeared out of nowhere for no real reason, and then when backend errors start like canceling people's items and stuff, it sort of sucks. I had somebody who's going for Lightkeeper in my Discord, and I think it cancelled his craft for the thing, even though he had fuel the whole time, but it said it like something weird happened, and then it's like, well, maybe the items now disappeared, and it's just the whole thing's a bit weird. So there are some serious issues. So let's just jump into the list of what they've said, because they'll probably remind me of a few as well. So fix problems with loading into raids for PMCs and scavs, which are especially notable on Streets of Tarkov. So this one, I've been able to scav on Streets the whole wipe up until about 4 days ago. I was having problems in the evening, and I now can't even scav in the day anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think my experience was kind of similar. Like, early on, it was fine, but then, a week later in the wipe, it was just like, even like early mornings, like I would get up at like 6 a.m. and then be like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna do my morning routine and play a little scav raid here and there, and I would have trouble getting in then, which I assumed it was like a server load issue of some sort, but I have no idea, honestly. So
yeah, I'm not sure. There was people trying all sorts of shenanigans and like going into like the deepest, darkest internet settings and trying to change like buffer sizes or whatever. I don't even know what it was. It was like packet sizes and things. Like I looked at the guide for about 5 seconds and was just like, nah, I ain't doing that. Like, no, I'm not doing that. And some people said it worked. Some people said it didn't work. It's a bit of a weird thing. So they've said they're fixing that. As scav, it's annoying, but I have seen some people get it as PMC too. I fortunately haven't had that. I haven't tried Streets actually the last week. I've been doing other things, but I have, like, when people get it on PMC, obviously that really sucks, right? Because you lose an actual loadout. Like, you don't know what was really on your scav. Like, you can see kind of, but it's normally not anything that valuable. And if there's a flare, like, probably don't try and play Streets. But if you go in with an actual PMC loadout, like, it just sucks if you then just can't get in, and then there's no way to extract. There's no way to, you don't get your gear back. That's really, really unfortunate. So I'm glad they're looking into that. It does seem Street specific. I haven't had any issues on any other maps with PMC. So yeah, hopefully they've addressed this soon, because that's really annoying. Fix for stuttering animations of players on bots and on different locations. I've seen that on Streets a little bit, I think, with bots just not moving smoothly, which is a bit strange. And then they've said unlock of Jaeger and quest items. Can you imagine that Jaeger just getting blocked? Unlock of Jaeger and quest items, as well as rep gain for traders, for players who were not rewarded as a result of network infrastructure issues. Refund of the Epsilon container not received as a reward for the quest Punisher Part 6. Yeah, can you imagine just like being blocked from Jaeger because of back end right from like day whenever?
That's Tarkov.
Yeah, that is Tarkov. That's very, very annoying. Fixes various sound environments on the Streets of Tarkov. I had that clip that I posted, which is really strange, that weird audio occlusion thing. So maybe that's something to do with it. I don't know. But they're going to be tweaking Streets for ages, so who knows what that really means. Fix for a bug where fog on Streets was not rendered in optics. It was kind of nice, actually, in some ways. So now the fog is going to be in the optic. At the moment, you can bypass it by using anything that uses picture-in-picture. So 2x's and above, you can bypass fog by looking through those, but that's going to be gone. What's this? What even is this one? Fix 299 profile in match error after raid is scav for some players. I've never even seen that. And fix for error 228 when trying to remop the floor. I never bothered mopping the floor. I just built the gym. I just sold all my fleece to players on the flea and just didn't bother mopping it up.
Yeah, I upgraded the gym pretty fast as well.
Mm-hmm. I've actually tried to use it this wipe a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like, you get I think if you're under level 15 strength endurance, you get like a point every time you click the thing, which is, it's kind of meaningful. I can't remember how many points you can get in one raid on one like diminishing returns. It's like 5 or 6. I can't remember.
Dude,
Maybe it's up to 10.
My head's telling me, yeah, I don't know. I think it's like 1.4 or like 2 point something. I don't know.
I really can't remember. So it's actually decent, especially early on. And I think up until level 10 anyway, I mean, yeah, you probably don't have it then, but up until level 10, you don't actually even need 100 points per level. So I'm trying to use it more this wipe. I'm also, it's like, I'm going to make a little sticky note. I think it's stick it to my monitor and just be like, use the air filter. Like, I'm just so bad at using the air filters. I'm terrible. I just never put them in. I forget they're there. I remember at the end of my stream when I put them in and then I do one raid and then it just burns for 3 hours and I'm not even at the PC. Like, it's so bad because you can take them out now.
Oh, you can? Okay, that's nice.
Yeah. It's not as bad. You can actually remove them from the machine, I believe. Because you can do that with, I think you can anyway. You can with water filters. So water filters you can swap around now. So if you're about to leave and it's like 5%, you can swap that one out and put 100 in. So when you come back, then like when you're actively playing, you can put the 5 in just to burn the last bit of durability. Things like that. What's next? Fixes several causes of memory leaks. Yeah, it's unfortunate. I even find that the menus themselves work better if I restart the game, which is super weird. I think there's some bugs just in general now with whatever they've done. So that's, it is what it is, right? We're just looking forward to that. Maybe this was, no, I was thinking that this next one was maybe what Sad was telling me about on Discord. Fix for radio transmitter encoding craft that was showing as failed after a raid. I think maybe that was the same one, actually. Maybe it was the same one. They fixed a couple of quests. Not on getting acquainted, or I'm not actually sure what they fixed. It just says fixes. Fixes for a bug where the effect of medication ended before the timer did. Okay. Fix for a bug where energy was restored when cancelling the use of a painkiller. I can't remember exactly how this one functioned. There's something weird that you could do with Golden Star. I think that was for draining it though, because there were ways to get metabolism. So say you went into a raid full, you could get metabolism because if you just drink or eat when you're at 100%, you don't get any. I don't think this is the same thing, by the way, but you don't get any metabolism points if you're at full, full water or full thirst, hunger, whatever you want to call them. But you can do a thing where you start to use a Golden Star, and because the Golden Star's got a hydration or energy debuff on it, whichever it is, but you can cancel the Golden Star before it fully happens. You can cancel it before it uses a usage, but it does apply some of the negative food or water, which is really strange. And then you can drink something at the start of the raid, and then you get points into metabolism for XP, which is really strange. I thought maybe that was that, but I actually don't think this. I don't think this is that. This sounds like something really odd. Fix for a bug where energy was restored.
Yeah,
canceling the use of painkiller.
I think this is the one where it's the augmentin. It like costs 5 hydration, but gives you like 5 energy, something like this. So people would like namely having dude show me this is like you would have it in your secret container, and so like if you're in a really long raid and like you need food and you don't have food, you could just pop that cancel over and over. Like sure, your hydration would get tanked, but you would have like energy, so you wouldn't like be because the energy loss or no energy penalty is like way more severe than the hydration one, right?
Yeah, because I know that I used to keep Golden Star around like before I started taking the SJ12s every raid with the injector case. I did used to keep the Golden Stars for that reason, because you got that it was like negative energy, but then you got +5. You got like +1 over 5 seconds. So if you're at 0, you take the hit, but you can't go below 0. And then it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you're actually at least above, and it gives you a bit more leeway. Because that's the biggest killer, is that you don't regen stam at like anywhere near the normal raid. That's the biggest killer for that. And obviously you take damage too. But I died from energy and hydration for the first time in ages. I was already quite badly damaged after a fight. I got my stomach shot out, and I was taking the damage from both, and I don't have max metabolism. And I forgot that the damage from those applies just like evenly across the body. So I was looking at my HP, looking at my like body up in the corner, like I wasn't in my menu. And then I just suddenly died. And I was like, what? I had loads of health left. And I was like, oh no, because the head's got 35. And that, unlike spillover damage, it doesn't apply like evenly in a distribution. It just applies like flat to each one. So your thorax ends up at 85 minus 35, 50. So your thorax is at 50, but you die because your head's at 0. So I was like, man, but I didn't have any more meds or anything, so there wasn't anything I could do about it, which really sucks. Which is one of the reasons why, by the way. So a lot of people pushed chemical to get to chemical 4 so they could hand it into therapists so they could get their injector case. But I was looking at the prices on the flea and talking about it with chat, and I was like, well, I could either like buy one now and then sell the one that I get later. And that means that I get to have it now. And even it's like 50k flea market fee, I feel like I'd probably just rather have the injector case now than wait because it's so useful.
Yeah.
So I actually ended up doing that. So I'm only on chemical 3. So I've only got 2 to go. I got the factory one and something else. But yeah, I wasn't really going to customs, so I just didn't end up completing it for whatever reason. And yeah, like a situation like that, it would have saved me, So it definitely would have been worth it. So I'm pretty happy with grabbing that now, paying like a 50k fee to get it early. I think that's like very sensible, honestly. I think that's a very sensible thing. I've never done that before, and I think it is worth it. Just because now I can run all those things. If I run out of health, I've got ETG, I've got Propitol in there, I've got an SJ6, a Mule. Yesterday we had like an insane raid with the SVD. Like I killed 2 players already, and then there was a guy who was so thick coming out of the mall that he was like pilgrim backpack, running, and then lying down, crawling, and then like running, lying down. And we heard him come past because he was like, moon boots on, Jupiter or whatever. I know it's a gas giant, don't fact check me. But and he came past just like the loudest footsteps of all time. They could probably hear him in the next map. And I was like, well, we should probably just go and like hunt him. Like we're doing Punisher 6 anyway. I didn't really want to die, but I was like, we'll hunt him down. And just like went down. It was near Power Station. There's the ramp that comes out of the out from the mall towards Power. And then there's the sort of like, I don't know what you call it, but sort of the really long road that goes all the way from Power all the way down to Emacom. And it's like down the back of the mall, like at ground level. It goes past the backpack extract. He was running down there, and I was like, surely if he's like super overweight, we're just going to run into him like immediately. And we just like trundled down a little bit, and there he was crawling along in the bush. And as he stood up, we just went over to him, and he had this pilgrim bag with a Beta 2 inside, with one of those LCBR rigs inside as well, completely filled with stuff. He had like 3 dog tags on him or something, like 2 or 3 dog tags. Like I already had 2 dog tags and some stuff from some other people. So we were just like min-maxing for like 10 minutes. Like had to haul all the way to railway with like 65 kilos. I was like, I really could do with the injector case now. Like this is the time when I really could do with it because yeah, it's expensive, but the kit in this one raid, there was like a masker with visor and stuff. It wasn't the killer one, but like the olive one, someone had brought one in for whatever reason. I was like, man, there's so much stuff in here. This is actually insane. Like it's definitely worth the 140k mule and the 500k injector case, especially given you can get one later, which is madness. So there's been a couple of situations where I thought like I should have just bought it early, honestly, and then just sold the one that I got on the flea later on. I know some people run 2, but I think you're a bit of a psycho if you run 2, unless you're hitting like Black Room. That's the only thing. If you're like a Black Room Labs runner, then it makes sense maybe to have 2, because you kind of want to have the ones that you've got and also to keep all the ones that you get from the raid. But otherwise, it's pretty niche to have 2. So I'm probably going to sell the one that I get. But anyway, where were we? That was a very, very long sidetrack about painkillery stuff. There was medication, cancelling. Oh, yes, it's because we started with Golden Star. That's why. Fix a bug where players were getting less money than indicated in the pop-up message for selling items to Fence after a scav raid. I don't know about you. I'm incapable of just selling all to Fence, especially if there's like 1 or 2 items that are kind of valuable. Well, I'm just like, what? Like if it was a really crappy run, that's just like a 155 and no headset and a like Kiver or something, then maybe I'll do it. But there's always something in there. It's like, oh, you're going to get 80k, and I'm like, man, but there's like a pair of swordins in here. There's like a few things.
It's mainly like I don't have enough space in my stash, so it's a nice convenience thing to sell, like a beanie and like a knife and a half mask or something.
Yeah,
I could get a little bit more from Ragman, but I don't really have the stash space, so I'll just sell it here. But otherwise, I'm the exact same way. I'm just like I'm gonna get more rubles by like selling it to a different, like an actual trader. So I don't know. I'm the same way.
Yeah, and it's not even that hard. Like now that the UI is a bit better as well,
Yeah.
it's not that hard now. I'm
Like
slowly trying to train myself to use tab and like use the new UI, not back out all the time. But it's hard.
it's fine that it's there for like, I could like see maybe like some casual player that only plays scav, just wants to like get in and get out type of thing. Maybe like the cleans of Tarkov, they all they want to do is just like scav at a certain point in the wipe. So it's just
Even
a
then,
nice
you have to wait for the
convenience.
next one. It's like,
Yeah, you might as well, right? You
yeah,
might as
I
well just
know.
make them. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. So
Like I can see myself using it a little bit more late wipe when I actually don't care and don't need any of those items. Have like a bunch of money and I'm just using it to maybe get scav rep up and I'm run through factory, don't loot anything and just quick sell bam onto the next PMC raid while I wait for the cooldown.
yeah,
I could see that. But fix for the sorting table getting frozen after raid to scav. Good. Warning message that the player has items left on scav after a raid will be returned. That is good. I have accidentally clicked main menu after my scav run and deleted every single item with no warning.
oof.
Why that thing disappeared, I don't know. But I've had that happen to me, and that was extremely frustrating. I just misclicked it. Misclicked the button rather than pressing next. I just pressed main menu and that was it. Bam, straight out, nothing taken with it. Really, really painful. Fix for the incorrect display of red out of stock offers on the fleet. That's really annoying. You can fix that in your own client by, you go into the flea market. I'm just going to do it now because I've got the game open. If you go into the flea market and go into the cog, there's an option which is quantity from, and by default it's 0 to infinity. If you change 0 to 1, that gets rid of all of those like red things. I don't like doing that, but I like to be able to see everything by default, because if a trader is out of stock, that will also not show that. And I like to see the barter that the trader has by default and know it's also out of stock rather than not see it. So that's why I don't have it on permanently. But there are specific situations where I do turn it on temporarily, especially like I know early wipe, if you were trying to buy wires and stuff, it's like the full first page because like the back end server that was dealing with items was just like so backlogged that it just couldn't clear out all of these like sold listings. And you could change the quantity to 1 there temporarily just to get rid of all those, and it just made it a bit easier. So if you are having that issue, that's kind of how you fix that, which is good. Same thing works for condition as well if you're looking at fuel, because the fuel one, people are just selling empty cans. If you set condition, well, 99, I suppose, but you can set it basically to 1 as well, in theory, because most people are selling either 0'd or 100% fuels. That kind of works there too. At least you don't have to do the barter thing anymore, because player barter has been banned. Thank God. That was only a good thing, in my opinion. Corrections to the calculation of hydration, energy, and health value use in the stash after building the nutrition level 3 unit. I think this is something that Airwing reported a bug fix about, I believe, was that if you go to your character in the hideout, I think it shows you the little positive, +1, whatever on your health bar. Not on your health bar, but on your thirst and hydration. But it didn't match up with what the benefits you were getting from the different modules. But you were getting credited the right way. It just didn't display how it should be. Very minor one, but that'll be good that that's fixed, I suppose. Fix for container search sound looping if a player or bot was killed during the search process. This happened to me when I ratted somebody super hard in customs. And they opened a weapons box and I shot them, and then the looting sound just never stopped. It was just over and over. And I was like, God, we're gonna have to actually like run away. We have to take the guy's stuff and like sort this out elsewhere, because it sounds like someone's just like endlessly looting right next to my head. This is super awkward. So that got added this wipe, and for whatever reason, and they're going to fix that, which is good. And the option to hide the trader list screen will be added. Hallelujah! That's the middle screen where when you click on traders, it shows you the list of the 8 traders with their reputations and the various like ticks for daily quests and stuff before you click onto it into the new UI where they're all in panel across the top. Obviously, that was necessary before. It's not necessary anymore because all the traders are now listed in a panel of 8 at the top instead of in that sort of weird intermediate grid. I, for one, I'm going to be very happy about this. When that screen disappears, that will incentivize me strongly to use the new UI properly. Because at the moment, I don't really have, because I can go back and forwards by going ESC and clicking. It means that I'm still able to use the old system. I need to have the old system deleted so that my muscle memory gets properly proper reboot. Like I try to do it the old way and it simply doesn't work. That's going to be the way I learn faster. I'm getting there, sort of, but I've stopped eating food in the hideout, for example. So I'm getting used to it, but that'll be really good. It's just not necessary anymore, so that's cool. And then they just said the work on updates announced as part of the roadmap is progressing according to plan, which is good. So there's no new roadmap. Everything that they said on there is going as they have said previously. The previous roadmap still stands, I suppose, for the time being. But there is one interesting thing about that. So maybe you know more about this. I know that there was a video that Ewing did about, speaking of Mr. Ewing, he did about the roadmap maybe being different a little bit because there's a talk on the roadmap of the Streets expansion. But then did Nikita say that the Streets expansion was now not coming until after release, like the next one? They were just focusing on performance. Is that true? I can't remember now. I think it is. I think Ewing said that in his video.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say for sure.
I know there's so much myriad information. I thought maybe you had like, if you'd edited it, then I didn't know if you edited it or not. But if you had,
part, I did.
Yeah, but you're looking at the composition, right? You're not necessarily like thinking about it in word for word. Okay, so people in chat say, yeah, that's what Nikita said at Gamescom.
That's what I was gonna say. I think it was at the Gamescom. He said a lot of things at Gamescom. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've been trying. I mean, I don't know if anybody else has this experience that I have. I've been trying to keep up with what's been going on with the Gamescom stuff and with Arena, and I'm even finding Nice Guy's channel hard to follow at the moment with the info dumps. There's just so much information and bits from this Q&A, and they're so long. And there's that live stream that was super long, and it's like I can't go and watch them, and I find myself struggling a little bit to like sift through the information. And I'm also not like, I'm not in a position where I'm 100% this thing. I want the information to be like super easily digestible, but I think right now it's like very bitty and it's coming from all angles and it's really complicated. Like I started watching Glorious's video about his experience with Arena this morning, but I didn't finish that because I was like busy doing something else. I like put it in the background while I was making a thumbnail. But yeah, it's very confusing. So I'm sort of just in wait and see mode, I think.
Yeah, some things too is like they're not like set in stone. It's like, oh yes, we brought this up, and he said, yeah, we're gonna look into like it's a really long-winded explanation. It's not just like a straightforward. This will be this type of thing. It's hard to remember like what's concrete, what's like, what's like they're probably gonna do. Vaguely.
Yeah, exactly. Like he gets asked questions by Nolan, who, to be fair, puts together these things in a very cohesive way. But then he says like, well, how are you going to stop people going in with like max skills into like level 1 arena and bust? And they're like, well, we're going to have some way of like, they're still working on it,
Yeah, I feel like half their answers is like, don't worry, it's going to be great. We're going to figure it out. It's like, they're kind of like default answers. In a sense.
So I'm getting a bit confused. So that's the only thing, like just looping back to what I said a second ago after I sidetracked myself about Arena. That's the only thing that makes me a little bit like, about this, where they've said work on the updates as announced as part of the roadmap is progressing according to plan. But Nikita has said that it isn't because the Streets expansion isn't coming.
Well, I don't know, dude. I don't know.
I mean, I guess it is broadly like it's a little bit of a timing thing.
This is the roadmap for the fixes, Giga. Okay, they're two separate things. This obviously.
No! Oh my god. Okay, I don't know.
Can't you keep up with the flow of information here? Come on.
I actually can't. I actually can't. That is my complaint. So,
no, I'm right there with you.
The one thing that they haven't spoken about, so somebody, so I saw somebody post up on Twitter, and I thought that's a good point. Like they don't seem to have mentioned anything about NVIDIA Reflex.
Yeah, I saw that.
Which is bugged at the moment. It doesn't seem to be working. I don't see anything. Not that anybody's like really put a bug report in, other than me, about MIP streaming, which seemed to be broken for whatever reason. But I think that might be more memory leak problems. Like I think once the memory leak stuff goes away, I think MIP streaming might work again. I don't think it's necessarily fundamentally broken, but I think like if you've got memory leaks flowing through the system freely, then MIP streaming just goes like, I can't put this stuff anywhere. I'm just going to give you the lowest quality. So hopefully the memory leak stuff encompasses that. I don't really know. So yeah, hopefully we get the Reflex back. The other thing that is a bit weird and contentious right now is this Arsa Sparta. Dude, the Arsa Sparta with Peacekeeper 3 is just impossible. Like you try to do it at the time, it just like it doesn't even appear.
I thought it was bugged. Oh, so it is bugged.
Lots of people have said it is bugged. So it is bugged because of the bug that says, where is the one that I just read out before? There's one about the I can't even find it now. It was in the list. There was one about, or maybe
out of stock.
Wasn't there? Yeah, sorry, out of stock. Yeah, I can't even see it in my list. I can't find it. But anyway, there's the out of stock thing where, and I think the customs office key had this too, where it had a quantity on the trader,
okay,
but it was actually out of stock. But I think that's different. So I think the RSAS part, I don't know what they did with it, but I think there's like 3. Because people have asked BSG, but now I'm actually confused because people have asked BSG and they've said, no, it's not a bug. And then other people have said like, oh yeah, BSG, no, it's confirmed a bug. So I'm really confused. I myself have seen BSG say it's not a bug, but I'm not really sure. So it's either bugged or there's like 1 per restock, because you get there and literally like the restock happens, you refresh it as fast as you can, like using either the tab method, because they I'm quite sad actually. They got rid of my spacebar like speed flea refresh. A bit sad. It's because everybody was doing it for the machete, I think, and then they realized it became kind of popular, and then yeah, they got rid of it. So now you have to either just like spam tab. They did, yes. You can't use space anymore.
That's what they did. Is they just got rid of the space function?
Well, I don't really know. Like, you can't use space to refresh now if you click into the flea.
That's so stupid.
So now you have to use F5 like normal every 5 seconds, or do tab. But tab takes a while because it has to like load in all the stuff from your inventory. So it's like kind of laggy. Anyway, so like no matter how fast I did it, I simply could not get the RSAS bar to even appear on my screen. It was out of stock the entire time, and it never came in stock for me. So I'm just resigned to getting to level 37 to get the RSAS. I know there's tons of people who are going around like buying them for people and like dropping them for people because it's just so annoying. You just get I can't RM free money trading, but it's just annoying, right? Because you get stuck on that RSAS thing. Can't do any more gunsmiths. That's it. Just can't do any more until you're level 37, and then you can do them all in one go. It's just so silly. I don't know why they made it such a limited restock, if that is the case, which I think it is, but it's annoying. It's annoying.
Oh yeah, that's just, the spacebar thing is probably the result of them changing the trade now. I think if you hit space, it like is a sell button for trading. I can't remember.
It does in the main. Yeah, it does in the traders. Maybe it was unintended. Yeah,
I think that might be the case. If I had to guess, because it doesn't make sense for them to like remove it, like the refresh for one hotkey and not for the others. So I suspect
I thought it happened, and this is pure speculation, but I thought it happened because the thing was, and it didn't seem to work for everybody. I think it depended on like your settings, if you were on borderless versus windowed versus full screen and stuff. Like, I'm not really sure why, but if you used to be able to go into the flea, look at an item, and then you'd go traders, then you'd go back to the flea, and if you didn't touch anything, you didn't touch any buttons after you press flea market on that listing, you used to be able to press space to refresh, but there was no cooldown. So you could refresh it as fast as you like. Now, well, there's a limit. If you refresh it too fast, you get the capture. So you kind of had to do it. You had to do it within reason. There was a cadence to it that allowed you to avoid the capture, but refresh really fast. But the problem at the end of last wipe is that like tons of people started doing it, because I don't think that many people even knew that it was a thing. Tons of people started doing it because of the machete,
right?
The SP8 machete and the pumping station key and the closed section key for Lexos. So everybody trying to do the quest was spamming the flea like just drilling it with like 1,000 requests. I mean, maybe it got turned off coincidentally. I don't know, but I thought it was because of that. And again, that was just pure speculation. Yeah. So it could be either. Could be either. I'm not sure.
One thing I did want to mention about, what was it? Fix memory leaks. Fix several causes for memory leaks. So remember, I think it was last week or the week before we talked about MIP streaming, and the YouTuber Clementine had a video on it. And so since then, I've been like following his channel, and he's done like a ton of like videos around hardware and optimizing the game, and then the diagnosing different stuff, and like he puts a ton of like work into his videos. Like I greatly like just the raw amount of like testing. The hours goes into like benchmarking these results and change one setting, restart the game, load it up, try to get the same-ish parameters for like online raids. Anywho, so he's got several different videos. I encourage you to check it out. But the one that really was interesting to me was the memory leaks video, where he tests he was testing the auto RAM cleaner, right? And like sort of like just like testing this idea of like memory leaks in Tarkov. And incidentally, he was doing a test. He's like, halfway in through his testing methods, and he was like, "Oh, let me double check my settings." So he opens up his menu to make sure that he had RAM cleaner on, and then he noticed that his RAM usage started like just dropping and dropping and dropping. Like it dropped like the whole like 4 gigabytes of what it was previously. Like it was like, let's say 1800 megabits, and now it was like, I guess that's like 1400, but it was more dramatic than that. But so he was like, "Huh, that's really bizarre." And so what appears to be the case is that when you have auto RAM cleaner checked on, okay, it doesn't actually do anything until you open up the menu in the raid, and then it starts cleaning out the RAM. So, and I want to say I remember Nikita talking about something to this effect in the past, where like the RAM cleaner works whenever you hit tab, and that's why you get like some type of lag or like stutter. But I don't. Anyways, I'm not sure if that's a new feature or something that we didn't know about, because it seems like it's not working unless you hit escape, like open up the main menu in the raid. Anywho, this may be like irrelevant information here in a couple days when they fix the memory leaks. We'll see, but it can be pretty dramatic, especially on a map like Streets. Like you could reduce like a third of your memory usage, and Tarkov is very CPU and memory hungry. So yeah, check out Clementine YouTube channel. Tons of good videos in there. I like his stuff.
Yeah, it's Clem in Time, KLEMIN Time, Clem in Time. Now I do like his stuff. I've watched a couple of them. I go back, like I've actually watched like a handful of videos here and there. Which is quite interesting. I watched this thing about like resize bar and stuff. But yeah, a lot of these things in Tarkov are just like super weird. I do appreciate the amount of testing. Like even the graphical video that I did, even that took a while, and I didn't, I wasn't going super crazy into all of this stuff. The most complicated part that I did was have a look at VRAM usage and that kind of thing. Even that took a really long time. When I fiddled around with auto RAM cleaner, some people were suggesting and recommending to have it off, but then just like put it on every now and then in the menu. So when you get out of raid, even you just like click auto RAM cleaner and watch your RAM usage just drop like this, and then turn it back off again, which was kind of interesting. And that did actually do something for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what, but I also don't trust it, and I just restarted my game. Because then for sure that there's not going to be anything left over or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. It's a bit of a complicated topic. I just don't know. I just simply don't know. But yeah, his stuff is a good resource if you're looking at various things. Trying to figure out some of these things. I think his latest one's like why you have less than 100% GPU usage, about bottlenecks and stuff. So like, yeah, just go really into depth on this kind of stuff. I think it's useful now more than ever that somebody goes and does the testing. It takes a long time, but as he talks about in his videos, right, it's really tough because you really want to do this stuff online.
Yeah.
But if you do it online, you can't get repeatable results. Now, maybe you could go in co-op offline. Maybe co-op offline is the way, because co-op offline still uses the BSG servers. Obviously, you don't have all the other PMCs on there. You'd need to, I don't know, if you really wanted to make it as close as possible, you'd need to have a party of 10, load in, do a load of testing, leave, load in, do a load of testing. Because in my testing that I did in offline mode with no scavs, I could get my FPS to like stupid stuff. And this wasn't this wipe, this was last wipe.
Mm-hmm.
But doing like all the MIP streaming shenanigans that was working last wipe,
yeah,
I could get Streets to run at like 135 FPS.
Yeah.
But as soon as you went in raid, obviously all of that changes. And yeah, maybe it's that at the start, it's like 120 at the start. But as soon as like stuff happens, your CPU gets bottlenecked. Even 5800 X3D, and you end up going down to 80 or 90 because other things are happening. And then some of the settings that got you from 120 to 135 in offline end up actually hurting your performance in online,
right?
Because of the difference in like where the resources are going. Like
exactly.
It's just not the same. It's like running a different application, right? Because there's a different set of workloads going across your hardware. Super weird. So it makes it really hard to benchmark any of this stuff. And we could almost do with like a live test environment in some ways to actually like have a look at some of these kind of things.
I mean, but probably like the closest thing you could do is just cut bots on.
Yeah, bots on and offline. That's like the best way, but yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's going to be like super representative, but you're going to, because it's kind of like more skewed towards,
or CPU.
Yeah.
And to try to like, oh, well, okay, but there's no PMCs, but you're having to calculate all the bot stuff on locally.
Exactly.
So like, does it balance out?
It's like a little, I mean, that, like on streets might be the exception where like it actually might be kind of close to online. Because I don't know. Anyways, it's crappy. I agree.
Yeah, it's complex. So yeah, maybe co-op offline is the answer, because then you're using BSG servers, but you're doing the stuff locally, and you could go with like a friend or whatever. So it's having to do some PMC networking. Like, don't just go on your own. Well, you can't go on your own actually. You're not allowed.
Yeah, I guess that would kind of work, because then you get the online bots. So then
you get online bots plus any people you took with you. But yeah, you need like a group for people to go in with you, just so you can have that like massive players. Like if you could bring 10 people, that'd probably be enough. I know Streets has more, but it'd be enough to get it as close to online as you can, whilst making sure that it's under test conditions each time. You can set it so it's the same. But yeah, every time you go in, it's different, and that's the hardest part about it. And when you change a lot of the settings, you have to close the whole bloody game, reopen the whole thing, and then rematch into co-op offline, which itself takes a good 5 minutes, because it says, "Oh, the servers are busy at the moment." It's like, oh man. So yeah, doing God's work, Clementine. What else? What else? There's a few other. Yes. What were you going to talk about now?
As I say, they
Sorry, we keep talking over each other.
That's fine. Go ahead. What are you going to say?
I was going to add a few other random parts, which was, again, Airwing's coming up a lot today. On the Tarkov announcement of all the fixes, he said, "So many good fixes, anyone see a date anywhere?" And Apple's Law, the community manager for Europe, said, "We expect to roll out one soon indeed. For privacy reasons, I can't tell when." We expect to roll out one soon indeed. For privacy reasons, I can't tell when, but closer than most people expect it to happen. I'm not really sure what that means, but that's that. And we still don't appear to have. I actually didn't count, because it was more the principle, but I didn't check. And apparently, we don't have the extra stash rows from the event. Anybody who did it, and somebody was asking them any update on that, and he said they'll be added with the next major update. Does that mean the bug fix patch? I don't really know. Not sure. In other news, boss spawn rates have gone up to about 25%. That was all I was going to say for random news stuff.
I think Kaban went up as well, but not as much, right?
Or actually, don't know.
I think I heard he went up from like 10 to 15 or 15 to 18, something like this. But
yeah, it looks my feeds. It looks like he's 20, I think.
Now. Oh, okay, even better than I thought. Which is nice. Have you fought the new boss?
No, I haven't actually. I should go and try.
Yeah, I can't.
At this point, I should give it a go.
That's mainly where my itch is at for Target right now. I was like, I just want to play Streets, and but at the same time, I want to I want to get Peacekeeper leveled up, and to level up Peacekeeper, I have to go Shoreline, basically. Well, I mean, now I got a customs quest, but then it's back to Shoreline, right? Like I just need to get this rep high enough, and then I can just kind of like say, man, fuck off. I don't want to do this anymore. Because I really don't, dude. I'm just like, I'm honestly so glad. I'm gonna go in a different direction. I'm so glad that they're going to expand Shoreline, or like update it, or add this section. I can't remember the source. I want to say it was Gamescom. Oh wait, what did you get?
They said a map was getting updated.
Oh, okay.
I don't think they said it was Shoreline. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think they said it was Shoreline. I think people are speculating that it is most likely Shoreline, because Shoreline is also most likely the I don't know, the entry point into terminal, for whatever fashion that is. And terminal is either somewhere nearby or it's the big, shipping port that we see on the edge of Shoreline. So I think that's why people are suspecting that Shoreline might get a bit of a rework. But I don't know if it was actually confirmed that Shoreline was the map.
Well, let's see.
It's just highly suspected. I could be wrong there.
I'm gonna pull up the source.
As I said, I'm finding it really hard to keep up with what the hell's going on these days. So,
let's see. Oh, okay. You're right. He didn't want to say what it was, but then everyone's saying he just tipped his hand a little later. He thinks it's Shoreline.
Who is this? Where are you looking?
Airwings video.
Mm-hmm.
So he says it's gonna be Russian Armed Forces. Nikita did at the Gamescom thingy. Friendly to bears. So I mean, I don't know. He says docks at Shoreline. I don't know if that was like what Nikita said or not. But to me it makes sense, right? Because like you got the raid series where they had the whatever was going on with the plot, they had to go to Shoreline and then go to the docks, and that's where like Black Division came in, et cetera, et cetera. But like it kind of makes sense because I'm pretty sure I think it was a Russian voice over the intercom or like a system. So. But anyways, I hope it is Shoreline and is that side of the map, because Shoreline is like so like map flow wise, it's just not that great to me. It's like the best side, arguably, because there's kind of like two halves of it, right? And like for me, the village half is like the way more interesting half because there's a lot of loot in the village. Like, yeah, you got the sunken village, which isn't that great, but like there's still stuff there. Obviously, you got Path to Lighthouse, like the extract, just is really convenient. And there's the cottages, and then you got the resort. Whereas the other side, it's like you got weather station, a little radio tower, stashes scattered about, and like there's some scavs down by the construction site on the Shoreline. And there's this RUF roadblock that has, I guess it's RUF roadblock, whatever. There's a giant, docks RUF roadblock thingy that's got mines, but there's like nothing there. Like there's just like nothing on that side, I feel like, and it's so like just like let me just run for 5 minutes to finally get to where I'm want to be at. I really hate, and it's like the general Shoreline issue, but like especially that side, it feels so bad.
Yeah, it reminds me of it's also like, so as you pointed out, right, Path to Lighthouse is such a great extract. And the map's asymmetric because if you spawn on the Path to Lighthouse side, you can leave Path to Lighthouse. So you can actually just play in one half of the map and it's fine.
Yeah.
If you spawn on the other side, you're going to have to go to either tunnel or Path to Lighthouse. And it's dire, right? And the only other extract on the map is the pier boat one, which doesn't freaking work. It's 30 seconds long. You can't tell if it's on or not. And it's just like you can extract out of it. I have.
Yeah.
But you just don't know until you get there, which is just really annoying. And you're so exposed, it's a pain. It reminds me of Woods pre-medical camp. That side of Woods was always dead as well. There was nothing there for the longest time until the rework. It's the same thing. It just needs the same treatment. And they just need to put something over there. Maybe they expand. Well, I think they just need to put something over by RUAF, I think. Weather station can stay as like the high ground bit. That's okay. That's fine. Maybe they make it a little bit more interesting than just like one building. But there needs to be something elsewhere, I think, around there. Just like a reason to go, especially on spawn. It's the reason why people just like sprint either up to weather station or just straight to resort from that spawn point. And you do get some spawn fighting around there, but not over anything. It's just the fact that we're in proximity with each other. Oh god, I killed a guy running a Mosin, and he just ran straight past me. I spawned in the construction area, and he was just like running straight across the hill in front of me after like 5 seconds. Just killed him. I was like, man, spawns. They're great on this map. Fantastic. I didn't even know he could spawn that close. It's crazy. So yeah, it could do with it. I agree. But it will get interesting, I think, once that is a thing, once that's something down there, because it is clearly something. So, the biggest like armed roadblock in the whole of the game. And right now it's just every now and then you hear an unfortunate person that doesn't understand Shoreline explode over there and laugh. That's pretty much all it is right now.
Yeah, I mean, I used to think at one point it was gonna be open up to an extract, like to the next like terminal or something. Because it used to be an extract.
Yeah, it's called CCP Temp.
Yeah, and it was like you had a spawn on tunnel, and then it was a chance you could have it. I think, pretty sure, or maybe you'd always have it, but it was a chance to be open if you spawn on tunnel. Either way, it was very niche, and most of the time you would just go to Road to Customs because it was just more reliable. Also, felt a lot safer because who wants to be like, oh, it's not there. Let me run back from the road up the hill where people can see me from, a bunch of different angles. It just didn't really feel good. So yeah, that would be nice. The other thing,
do you have any idea what CCP stands for? I can't even remember. Checkpoint, maybe? CCP Temp? Actually, I'm not sure. Because it just always used to say CCP Temp on there. I'm like, oh, what does that actually mean? Did it mean anything? Other than checkpoint?
I don't know.
Checkpoint temporary. I don't know. Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, SVD buffed. SVT
buffed.
Still better though.
Well, maybe.
Giga, drop the copium now.
Slight tangent. I used the AVT.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's ungodly, right? That's just like it's ungodly. I used it in factory, but we did Punisher Part 5 with it, and it's a murderizer.
Oh, that's the Ratnik and Pekka. Yeah,
Ratnik Pekka. I just do it on factory. AVT.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Hand cannon. Oh my god, it's good.
It's so
on
dumb,
factory.
Dude.
I mean, I don't want to ADS with this thing. If I have to ADS, I've lost on positioning and stuff, right? But like for assaulting corridors around the office corridor or like fighting in forklifts, dude, it's like people, you see the flashlight coming, you're just like, oh boy, little do they know what's in wait. And I paid a teapot for this baby. And then I pop around the corner just like, I killed together with it.
Yeah, dude, the thing's
like
insane,
no problem,
man.
Just to the thorax, just completely zeroed his classics armor with T46.
Yeah.
And we were looking at the stats actually, because people they were like, oh wow, they were like, you managed to kill him with like 15 bullets of T46. Like that's crazy. And I was like, dude, you know what the craziest thing is? Let's just go and actually look up the the thing on the calculator. I was like, it takes 4 shots to zero the class 6 armor.
Yeah.
After that, just as if he's got nothing on. 700 RPM, dude. It's probably the fastest time to kill in the whole game, excluding something like. Actually, excluding nothing. Like I think just excluding nothing. Because I was gonna say
maybe the SA58 has faster. Nah, I don't think it does.
Actually, the Puma Magnum AP has the fastest time to kill because it's a one shot through any armor.
Yeah, he got me with the actually. No, so the SA58 has 700 RPM because I think the SVT 750.
I thought it was.
Or the AVT
700 as well.
Okay, maybe it's 700, but
dude, it's 750.
See, busted.
It's 750. Okay, yeah, busted. Man, it's nuts. Grenade launcher, yeah, nice one. Okay, so yeah, it's broken, but anyway, so SVT has been buffed. It needed to be.
You mean SVD?
Sorry, SVD.
SVT does not need a buff. No, man, Nikita misheard us.
Yeah. So the SVD has been given a buff. It has had its ergo increased by about 5, I think. But more importantly, the recoil has been reduced by like 25%. Dude, it's a lot. It's actually a really big deal.
Yeah.
It is. Chat's asking when was the SVD buffed. I honestly don't really know. somebody told me about it yesterday while I was streaming.
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh, I went on the wiki and had a look at the revision date, and like, yeah, it's the base stats have changed." And I was like, "Okay, like this wasn't mentioned by Logical Solutions. Like, no one seems to have known that this has happened." So, like, I'm making a video about it like right now because,
yeah,
you know, it's like just gone. It's gone unnoticed by most people. So, so yeah, the base recall, because you know we used to when we were talking about the
22nd of August.
Really, man. No, it can't have been. It must have been. It must have been longer than that.
I mean,
it must be because
that's what the wiki's saying.
That's crazy, dude. Because like, so I made my when I made my SVT video. I mean, maybe it is. Was it been before the 22nd?
When did the wipe happen?
I don't even. On the 10th.
Oh, okay. I mean, it's possible. Yeah, that kind of.
So the wipe was on the 10th. When did I make my SVT video? I made my SVT. Oh, I made my SVT video on the 21st.
Dang. Only I waited.
I released my SVT video on the 21st of August, where I compared the stats of the SVT and the SVD at the beginning of the video. And a day later, it's been buffed.
It's time to put the copium down, Giga.
Oh my god. I wonder if they did something to the hunter.
I mean, let's look.
No.
Okay.
They didn't. It's still 311.
But I mean, to be fair, I don't know. I think this is kind of like the conundrum for me is like, I'm glad that they did that. Like, I really like the SVD, right? I've always liked the gun. That was just real badass. But then the SVT came out and it just sort of like superseded that. I mean, yeah, the SVD, you can suppress it, you can put on a fancy scope, whatever, you know, but I just kind of feel like the SVT was just like a cheaper, better version of that outside of those two factors, right?
That outside of the two factors that like you can look down it easily, no one can hear you.
You can look down it. You can look down it easily.
Those two things. You can't just dismiss it.
Okay.
And you're not seriously comparing something like the Voodoo to the PU-30 like 3.5, right? Like there, no chance.
It gets the job done. Okay, and you know how uncumbersome the SVD is when you ADS it. It's just like you can't win whether it's like ergo, recoil, like you're trading something. Like, okay, yeah, you got a Voodoo, but now it's like your arm stamina is like 2 seconds, or your recoil is completely ass. It's just like it doesn't feel good. Like you know what I mean?
Not anymore.
Well,
25%, dude. It's big. I used this gun yesterday, so I used like an intermediate one yesterday. Yes, it's a humongous beast. I would admit it's 7.4 kilograms. It's really heavy. So yeah, arm stamina is always going to be an issue. But the one that I used, and I'm not even using the best in slot stuff because I'm using like level 3 trader things. And mine is 20 ergo, which is kind of bad, but it's 68 recoil using, you know, like the Chris Defiant stock. I'm not even using that ARE and things like that. So you can get it down to like 54, I think, if you put everything on it. I mean, I think that's unreasonable and not necessary, but 68, I think 68 is about where you could get it to like fully kitted with, you know, Mesa tube plus PRS plus like RK2. I think that was basically where you could get it to last time. It was like, I've got like an intermediate, like level 3 traders style build. That's the same recoil now as it used to be when it was like fully decked out, which is, it's interesting. And I used it yesterday and it felt all right, honestly. It felt okay. And like it's had a bit of an ergo buff too. There's like a bit more ergo there. So if you do want to ergo it out, like I think I've got, let me just go into here to remind myself because I literally just looked at it, but I've already forgotten because stats are, you know, the stats are stats. SVD optimized, let's see. So this is the SE5 one with the advanced tube, with the MOE, with a 20 round mag, but then it's the upper band version, like the modernized one with like the top rail thing and suppressed. And that is like the meta, what I would consider the meta of SVD. I don't have a scope on it yet, but that's 30.5 ergo and 63 recoil. It's good. It's pretty good. It's better than it was. Like it's
63 ergo is pretty nice.
So 30 and 0.5 ergo. 63 is the recoil.
Oh, 13.5 ergo?
30.5. 30.
Oh, 30, okay.
30. So it's not like not too bad. You could probably get it a bit higher if you really. Actually, you can't really. There's not really much else you could do. You'd have to sacrifice some vertical recoil to do it.
But it's like, Giga, like 3x maybe the price of the SVT. I don't know.
Yeah, I think 3 is an underestimate. I think it's more than that, but I think it's more expensive than that.
Oh, no.
Dude, the suppressor costs as much as the SVT, basically.
Yeah, and
the SVT suppressor is 53k.
The weird part about the suppressor is like, does it even actually suppress it? Because the thing sounds like you're trying to spark a fire off like a sheet of metal with like an iron. I don't know.
It does.
Dude. It's so,
but it stops you from sounding like Sturman for the entire map.
Yeah, that's fair.
Which I think is good, especially with the SVD in particular, because it's so distinctive. I think it does actually have value, even if it doesn't completely negate your sound or whatever. Like if you're nearby, you'll hear somebody firing it, even if it's suppressed. But yeah, I just wish there was some more muzzles. Like when I was going through it, I was like, man, why aren't there some more muzzles? Like I'd love. Can you imagine if there was like a good loud muzzle? Oh, it'd be excellent.
There is no muzzle, Giga. That's the.
Oh, that sucks, man. We need like a J Mac or something.
Definitely keep the default one on there.
Yeah, but no, it's interesting. It's a bit better than it was. I think it was absolutely necessary. They've done it, but yeah, I mean, I'm doing Punisher now, so we're gonna try it out. I've got 3 kills. You know what's weird? Guess where I do in Punisher now? Punisher Part 6. Interchange. What have you done with Giga? Exactly. There's the usual messages that I expect to receive from chat when they're just like, you're on interchange with the SVD. I'm like, now that you can see, I quite like interchange. It's quite long range. Like it works for the SVD in most places. As long as you avoid going like, as long as you avoid going in like echo, whatever you call it, or like into Rasmussen, like around the ramp and like fighting in the buildings. As long as you're not in those bits, you're actually okay. Like even inside, even on like the big long stretch. Like if you're in Goshan, it's fine. If you're in Ollie, it's fine. If you're around the ramp but don't go into the ramp, it's usually okay. If you're in like the clothing store in the corner where you like plant the gazelles, I can't remember what that one's called. Not the gazelles, the contacts and the ratniks. There's like lots of big, long, open avenues with no cover. And there's all the outside. I mean, that's what we did yesterday because I was technically, get this is bad. I haven't actually finished the kill scavs on interchange yet. I've still got 3 scavs left to do. So that's what we went to go and do. And I was like, well, just incidentally go and see if we can get any Punisher kills. I killed 1 scav and I killed 3 players.
Wow.
I was like, okay, well, I guess we're getting Punisher 6 done before we get like Ragman's very first quest. At this rate. But yeah, no, it's interesting. I've always liked the SVD. It's always been one of those like funny guns. But I just think like putting the serious hat on for a second, I do think that the SVD and the SVT, they sit in 2 different camps. The SVT is certainly clearly very, very good. But I think they're just very different guns. They're for different purposes. If somebody's got a kitted out SVD, like, yeah, it costs 5 times the amount. But they probably will win, Like, you have the optics, you have the suppression. The recoil ultimately is lower on the SVD. I'd like to recompare them, to be honest, because the SVT's return to center time is, like, pretty crazy.
Yeah,
the SVD's one is awful.
Yeah, unless they change that.
I checked Tarkov Changes, which has the updated recoil, but they have not changed the big,
it's not...
the big C.
It matters, but like how the thing is, like the more vertical you make it, the weapon, then automatically the like better the full auto becomes. Which like, yeah, the guns don't have full auto unless you're specifically talking about the AVT. Yeah. But even then, it still applies to like single fire, so it's just not as dramatic, I guess is the word. I don't know, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, I am particular, like I said, the SVD, and there is a build I like that just uses like the PSO scope and like a like a minor upgrades on like the stock and the pistol grip. Maybe I'll do a handguard. I forget. I had like a pretty cheapish build that I would use like outside of Punisher, right? So really, I just like that. But I guess you could do something like this. Would be pretty good.
It reminds me of the cheap build that I did obviously not going like full turbo ergo like I did that one time, but you could put like the XRS handguard on, so at least you can use a vertical foregrip, and then you can run it loud, and you put like an MOE pistol grip on it, and like maybe upgrade the stock. Like the stock's actually pretty easy to upgrade. I don't have the advanced tube, so I just put the adapter on, and then I put the ATP from Skier, and then the Christophans on the back of that.
Oh, you can get the ATP from Skier? What is it, Skier 3, I'm guessing?
Skier 2, I think, even.
Oh, what the heck?
Because I put it on my M4, like early M4 build, and you get 2.5 recoil reduction from that, which is 1 better than the Colt one. But 1.5 better than the Colt one. So that's actually okay. It makes it all right. But as I said, like I managed to get mine, I mean, it's suppressed, sure, but I managed to get mine to 68 without you really using any meta parts particularly. Yeah, that's what I like to do with the stock. I don't think it costs all that much, really.
Yeah, it's pretty cheap. Yeah, you gotta have the eye cup on the PSO scope also.
Oh no! Oh no!
The +5 ergo, but the +5. The other gun, since we're kind of talking about builds, is I want to talk about is the M4. And I know we mentioned this like some time ago, early on in the wipe. But they got some new parts, and I think you can get it down to like 27, like sub 30s of like still moderate ergo, which is kind of nuts.
There's a few different options now. I haven't really heavily investigated the meta M4s yet. In fact, I think Landmark just put a video out.
Yeah, that's what I watched.
Oh, okay. But there's the new AX15 upper. It's because it's like it doesn't get to like min recoil. The AX15 upper is like 6 extra ergo.
Oh, that is a new upper. Oh, I thought that was a TX15, but there's an AX15.
No, there's AX now too.
Oh, snap. Because I was like, man, I don't remember, because I've been seeing a lot. Oh yeah, the AX15, X15. I was like, I don't remember the TX15 being meta last wipe, but yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Okay.
Yeah, that's the reason.
Yeah. Because previously, like the MER15 is like, oh, I don't even know what the stats are. I'd have to like look, but it's like
I think it's 4% or 5%.
Okay, yeah, 5 or 4%.
It's 4% recoil. The MUI, yes, it's 4% recoil, 8 ergo.
Right.
And the AX15 is 3% recoil, but 14 ergo. So it's like 1% recoil for 6 ergonomics. It's like that's a trade-off that you normally will take, actually.
Yeah, that's a pretty good trade-off. So, and that means you could like potentially do some other like. Previously, maybe you would trade 1 ergo for 4 ergo for 1 recoil. But since you're doing a 1 to 6 trade, now you could do that, like not take that other trade. You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly. You can now make it's a what's it like a ratio of trade-offs, right? It's like you can now take you can get more ergo for recoil by sacrificing here. So now you can grab more recoil over here because you don't need to do the ergo because it's like 1 to 2 over here, but it's actually like 1 to 6 on the upper. So it gives you more leeway elsewhere. And then you've got the new Hansen barrels as well.
Yeah, I mean,
so
the Hansen...
people normally use like the AR-15 20-inch barrel, for example. So, okay, let's compare it to like the AR-15 18-inch. You lose 7 ergo. It's the same vertical recoil. This is the long Hansen. There's 2. There's the 16-inch and the 13.7. So the Hansen 16 is basically the AR-15 18-inch, but with 7 more ergo. And against the 20-inch, like, yeah, it's 1 recoil worse, but it's 14 ergo better. So if you put that on, and then there's a new gas block called the Low Pro Ballistic Advantage. You can put that on, and then handguards wise, I guess you just use. I haven't checked, but I guess you just use the SAI QD like always.
I would imagine. I mean, you could use your classics too if you want to use something more budgety, but yeah.
Yeah, but if you want to go like full, I'm like fully meta kitting this thing, and then you're gonna go Silencer Co. Actually, you don't want to go Silencer Co. If you go Silencer Co. plus the RK1 canted, then you get 68 ergo and 27 vertical recoil. But most people don't go Silencer Co. Most people now go Griffin. Because the Silencer Co. combo is 14 from the suppressor and 9 from the brake. So that's 23. But the Griffin, if I can find it, is the G-Lock. The G-Lock gives you 8.5, and the M4 SDK suppressor gives you 14. So it's 22.5. So it's like 0.5 recoil underneath the silencer co, but it gives you a bunch more ergonomics. So if you do that, I mean, I haven't added a mag or anything, but at the moment, this weapon looks absolutely disgusting. You can have 28 vertical recoil on the M4 with 72 ergonomics suppressed. If I put a 60 rounder on it, if I put the nice one on, the D60, and then I add a couple of iron sights, we're going to go the Chris front and back.
Don't forget,
yeah.
Don't forget to add the +1 ergo rails to the front.
I wonder if I can do that on this. Oh, you can. You can add the cantilever rails. Oh
Yeah,
my word.
favorite.
Oh, the cantilever rails that give you +1.
Yeah, that's favorite, dude.
That's beautiful. Okay, and then in terms of a scope, I mean, yeah, if you just go like XPS3, then you get to 58 ergonomics, 28 vertical recoil with a drum suppressed and a holographic, which is pretty insane. Or you could do my other favorite one is the Geisley 30mm mount. And you grab that and then you put the little top cap on it, and it gives you +1 ergo just for having the mount on the gun, which is kind of weird. And then obviously you can put like a voodoo in or something.
What is it?
It's called the Geisley mount.
Oh yeah,
that
the
one
rails
with like the little top cap.
Yeah, I like that one.
So that because the voodoo's -3, but then the rail is +1, so it's only -2 overall. So this now is 58 ergo and 28 vertical recoil with a drum and a suppressor and a voodoo.
Yeah, I have mine with a 1x of 62 ergo and 29 recoil with the drum with the 60 rounder. Dude, that's just like suppressed. Like that's just. I mean, I still don't know if I'll. I guess at this point, like it's probably worth doing because like yeah, the hidden stats aren't great, but like because the recoil is so low, it kind of like helps mitigate a lot of that stuff. So at that point, you know, as long as the profile is vertical, yeah, you just get good skill issue pull down, bro. I don't know.
Exactly.
And like you can see your target too. It's like you don't lose sight picture. So I feel like it's probably worth using a lot this swipe.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Those additions do make quite a big difference. The upper change and the barrel change. It's like a lot of ergonomics, you know?
Yeah, it's a lot of ergo.
Makes a big difference.
But you know what? It's like I don't know. They actually kind of added a fair amount of recoil reduction too. It's like like the barrel. I guess the barrel's the same, but takes less ergo. But mainly the gas block and the upper is pretty nice because the upper, it's like it's one less ergo, but you get so much ergo, which makes like the drum. Because I think previously like the drum was like kind of questionable.
Yeah, because it like dipped you into like the 40s and maybe 30s.
Like
if you wanted to build it that way,
right? And like the low 40s, but like it's like for me like 40 to 60 is where I want to be, and like once I start getting below that, it just doesn't.
You may as well have an SVD, you know?
Yeah, it just doesn't feel great. So
yeah, I agree. I'm just intrigued now because I don't know if the most recoil reducing build that I did previously, I don't know whether that actually had the low pro on it, which is this new one. I'm intrigued what that actually gets to. You do just like stick on all the stupid parts. Like nobody ever runs these guns this way, but I'm always intrigued as to, I think I've been obsessed with it ever since somebody made that like 0 recoil ADAR when they stacked the two. They stacked like the wooden ADAR like pistol grip and stock combo with the M4SS stock. Yeah, so it gets to 23. I can't remember if that's lower now than it was before. Maybe it was 26 before. I don't remember. It hardly matters. If you're below 30, it doesn't matter anymore. So the last topic that I wanted to talk about, there's kind of some like there's some sort of some changes here and there with certain guns, but I think SMGs are in a really funny spot. And I just kind of want to like thrash it out a little bit because I'm just finding myself just not really using them at all. And it's mostly ammo, right? It's like mostly ammo constraints and stuff that's just made it really weird. But I think maybe some guns are okay now. I've just not really tried. I've died to some others occasionally and just thinking like, really, are people actually using these? If you're going to use the SMG, I do think that now that all the subsonic stuff has been like moved around or whatever, I think it just like as a first take, you're probably still best off using the MP7, if anything, right? Like you do need to get to mechanic 3 really to run the 30 round mags. But you can run it with the 20s. I have done in the past. I haven't used any MP7 this wipe, but FMJ is still super powerful. Like while the whole world seems to just be crumbling down around the SMGs, FMJ SX just stands strong in the middle like this bastion of 40 pen that just deletes everybody because it's got 950 RPM, which is just crazy. So the MP7 is still like super powerful. I've not really seen anybody using the other bullets like JSP, this one they added with like 26 pen. 32 pen. I just don't really feel compelled to use it or even stack it underneath. You know, FMJ is like cheap enough. You can buy enough of it that just like it doesn't even give you any like a bit with subsonic. You could make the argument like, well, you know, if I use subsonic, then I get recoil reduction. You know, it's I hit more shots on target. But like JSP doesn't give you anything. It's like, oh, it gives you 3 more damage. It's like, okay, great, but I'm not going to pen them now. So
yeah, I mean, it'd be great at like the start of the wipe
when you can't use it properly. Yeah,
right.
Because I don't know when you get it. Is it mechanic 2? Yeah, it's mechanic 2. So you have to be like level 20. It's like part of the issue with mechanic 2 is it's like so far along compared to the others. Like level 20 is quite a lot further than level 16, say for Prapor. You know, you're quite a lot further along. It's like it's not just 4 levels or whatever. I mean, I'd be willing to hazard a guess that it probably takes the same amount of XP to get to 20 from 16 that it probably does to get to 16 from 0. Something along those lines. I'm actually intrigued now. I'm going to go and find it. But yeah, like what got me thinking about this the other day was that I killed somebody. I was using the AVT, obviously. I killed somebody.
What do you mean, obviously?
Tarkov, no, I was on factory, killed someone using the AVT. And it's like Tarkov's new favorite SMG. But they were using the shrimp.
Interesting.
Or the SR2M, I should say, the shrimp 2.
Oh, okay.
And it kind of reminded me of the gun's existence and basically the existence of SMGs in general. And I was just like, oh yeah, this gun does actually exist. Because I think the problem is now it's like 9mm guns have just never been that good in general. They're okay early wipe, but then they fall off. Like if you hit in the wrong place, then you just lose. The UMP used to be good, but is not really that good now. It's still okay. It's like jack of all trades, but whatever. PP19 is okay at the start, but then people stop using it for proper rifles because of the low fire rate. It's just really tough to use any of those guns now. So when I got this guy's gun, I was like, well, maybe we should try it because like some of the ammo is not too bad. And I honestly don't think that the SR2M is terrible, actually. I think it's okay. Because you can buy 30 round mags for it. PS, which you get at Prapor 3, is like you can't use it before then, but you get 35 pen and 49 damage, which is good. This is better than both the second tier bullets for the P90 and the bullet below FMJ for the MP7. So I think it's like it's feasible at least, and it doesn't have anywhere near as much recoil as the MP7. It's like not quite as hard to control off the bat.
Which is this?
Sorry. This is the shrimp. This is the SR2M.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't think it was too bad. Like I tried it a little bit. I ended up dying with it. I was stacking PS on top of P rounds.
Yeah.
It wasn't too bad.
Change anything about it?
No, I just think everything else relatively has just fallen down.
Okay.
You know, there really wasn't much point using PS in the SR2M when subsonic existed for the MP7 and when SB193 existed for the P90 in their various forms, right? The P90 was doing the same amount of pen, the same amount of damage, bigger mags, a fire rate, like they're kind of similar, aren't they? They're all roughly the same. And then the MP7 is just like, super powerful. The subsonic was super powerful, had more pen, less damage, but had more penetration, and like it just kind of made the SR2M not really fit anywhere. Whereas I feel like it's kind of been pulled up by, well, it stayed the same, and everything else has come down as they've like nerfed these rounds. Because now, if you're using the P90, the second best bullet is L191, which is 33 pen, which really going from, we've talked about this before, but going from anywhere down from 37 down to 33, like it really starts to hurt you against class 4. Like I know that it's a proper machine gun, like 1,000 angry bees kind of weapon. So maybe it matters less. Like I've been killed with L191 for sure. Somebody catches you out. It's like you'll die to any bullet if you don't know where they are and they catch you by surprise. But it's you're both spraying at each other, you both know where each other are, and you're having a fair fight. It's those situations where I tend to judge an ammo. Because you could take any ammo and kill somebody when they're not looking and they're looking the other way. And usually, if you shoot enough bullets at them, even people in class 5 armors will die to things like L191 or like FMJ or whatever. But yeah, so it's those like face-offs where you go, okay, if I'm facing a dude and he's got SPP and a VSS, am I going to feel comfortable using L191?
Right.
Like, how often am I going to die? Like, what do I think is the realistic probability of me surviving here? Like, if he's got a Corund on and I shoot the Corund with L191, it's going to do bugger all. So I basically have to hit him in the head, or I have to hit him 1,000 times. But like, if they've got powerful ammo, they're also going to be shooting me in whatever I'm wearing. And if they're going straight through, or they're busting it with like super high armor damage, it's just like I don't know. I find it a bit tough. I do find it a bit tough. So it's an intriguing one. It's not really the wipe of the SMG. I think also like the 5.56 being pulled back so early as well has like made SMGs a lot less usable. Yeah,
that's how I feel strongly about is just having. I mean, it's so nice having that early access, but I kind of feel like it's not exactly balanced. I don't know.
It just cuts out a lot of the sort of intermediate progression. I think some of that like early like tier 2 trader stuff. You got 5.6 so early, but there are advantages. The SMGs do have fast fire rates. So one gun that I just haven't seen for ages is the Vector. I haven't seen that for a long time.
I mean, which one?
Either.
Both. I mean, the 45 I see sometimes, but that's more like later into the wipe. Still not as often. It could be for like several reasons, right? Because you got the likelihood it's gonna jam, right? Just because the sheer, like if a suppressor added on, it just like shreds the durability. So that's not really favorable for it. And then it's just like the ammo is just kind of not that great, like 45 is kind of the better of the bunch.
And then you've got like a 33 round mag and it fires so fast.
Yeah, it's like
you can't do it a drum.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's complicated. This is the thing. I think there's a downside to all these SMGs now. It's tricky. It's like,
well, it's just
the P90 is great. It's got big mags, but the ammo you have to craft it. Like the ammo is just not very good for the 2 vectors, or it's like, again, it's craft only. Like the SR2M, it's like 30 rounders only, and BT's craft only, and pens disappeared on half the other ammo. It's why I end up coming back to the MP7 or just branching out to other guns, honestly.
I just never really feel like I'm getting anything good with like, okay, like for example, like if we right now go to the Vector, we're talking about Vector 45. We slap on the suppressor because like you gotta have a suppressor, right? And we slap.
I sometimes go loud with those guys.
Okay, so only 2 things I put on was the suppressor and the 30 round, and I'm already at 49 ergo. 26.
I'm not sure if it matters as much for the Vector because it's kind of what's the weight?
3. Well, yeah, no bullets. 3.1.
Okay, so
kilograms.
It's not like it's sort of intermediate. It's lighter than like a rifle,
but like
an AK rifle.
But this is the thing: is like I could build an M4 with I think better ergo and like relatively the same recoil, like on paper, anyways. Like, what am I actually getting with the SMG? Faster rate of
fire rate. That's it, I suppose.
But like the DPS,
more chances to keep you in their head.
But like the bullets don't go through their class 5 armor. So like, what am I actually? I mean, yeah, I guess peep at their head. I just never really feel like I'm getting anything great out of it because all the guns, like the recoil is so ass on the SMGs because they shoot faster, and all the convergences are so low. That it takes a while for the gun to settle out. Is basically what that means. So it just never really feels that great. That's why, like, pre 1212, when the 9mm Vector was out, I mean, it was so much fun and like it was pretty busted. I mean, mainly because you got it so early, but I loved it because like it's like I'm trading damage for low recoil primarily and high rate of fire. But then they like moved 9mm up to, I think now it's Skier 4. Like you get the 45 at like Skier 2, whereas like the 9mm you get at Skier 4 or something. It just makes, like, by that time it makes no sense to do it. And then the ammo, like, they took out 7 and 40. But even before then, like, I remember that wipe, dude, and like everyone was using the Vector, and people were using PST GH, and then like they were just going for headshots, and the people started running the what is it, like the Kiver, like the class 3 helmets with like the face shields way more often because of the vectors running around. Like I really liked that time period because it was like, A, it was different, and like B, it felt like, you know, there was more diversity and even in the builds, because a lot of times like the builds in Tarkov, it's just kind of boring. It's like, oh, let me slap on the rat rig. Oh, let me slap on the ratnik. You know, oh, let me slap in the best ammo in this same gun, the exact same build. You know, just feels like
I feel like
I'm
we've
never
kind of
like,
gone back to that a bit, honestly.
Yeah, I feel like I'm never like actually strategizing that much with like my builds, like coming up with a strategy. You know, it's like, oh, leg meta or cheap gun, big bullet.
Yeah, or like the sort of rifle intermediate, I suppose.
What's
But
the rifle intermediate?
Yeah, no, like the PP, the 5.6A1s, like you go for something G36 or, you know, that kind of thing. Like big bullet and cheap.
Yeah.
Leg meta for fast fire rate and high damage, or I'll just be able to get through the armor pen and a rifle that's controllable enough to shoot it on target, kind of. I think that's always the issue that I have with like the P90. I quite like the P90, but unless you're actually hitting them in the head, it lets you down often in a fair fight. And I just don't think, most of the time, I just don't want to trade. Like, there's so many situations where it's like you don't want to just trade, especially with a fast fire rate weapon. You don't want to trade off like fire rate and a 50 round mag by default for like having to shoot them in the face. Like, there are lots of ranges where that's really awkward, actually, and you're just chalking it down to completely RNG at that point, right? Like, if somebody's like 50 meters away and they're shooting at you with a rifle, like, what are you going to do with the P90? You're not going to go like, you're not going to single tap them, right? You're just going to hold down the button and hope they die. That's all you could do. And I feel like in those situations, there's like so many weird situations. It just doesn't like justify using it. You know, like I'd much rather have a bullet that I know is going to pen like 80% of the player base's armor, so that when I do just spray at them and I hit them in the thorax, like it's actually going to go through and actually freaking do something. You know, that's always been my mentality about it.
Yeah, well, because like the gaps between, you know, the recoil on like my MP5 versus like the AK-74 SU. I mean, maybe this is a bad example because the stats are skewed a bit, but it's just like I feel like the gaps are either like too close or way too far away. Like, in other words, I can use an MP5 SD or I could use a G36. The recoil is actually not that much different between the two. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, why not just use the gun with the bigger bullet? I don't know.
That is often how it goes. I have been experimenting with something very, very recently, which we were just talking in chat about, like these other extensions of like where are we going to go next, and, you know, what else is interesting and new. And they added that new round for the MCX, the CBJ cartridge, which came from Skier. And I've always kind of said like, oh, you know, the MCX sort of feels like a glorified SMG. It's a little bit like the VSS and the Val in Tarkov in some ways, because those also feel like they're not SMGs, but you use them kind of like SMGs in many ways.
Right.
And the MCX has always sort of felt like that as well. Like, it's much better with just a laser on and just like running around. But CBJ, to close the gap between M62 Tracer and AP, is pretty good. Like 58 damage and 43 pen. It's pretty powerful, honestly. Like one of the big advantages about it, especially now, is it's level 3 skier, so it's not like super unachievable. But with 58 damage, something like I guess like will 55A1 will 55A1 2-tap a class 4 armor? I can't remember. I think it will. But this definitely will. Because it just does like quite a bit more damage. Like 58 is a lot, especially with the pen that it has. So it's like insta pen through class 4, and it does a ton of damage too. I've not used it extensively. I've killed one person with it, but it feels okay. It's just it's the issue with the MCX is that you just can't get it down below 50 recoil sensibly. Is the problem. So the gun always just feels a bit like lackluster. But and the fire rate's slightly too high to make it nice. But it's an interesting one. I've got a gun ready to go. We've used it a little bit. Ended up moving back over onto Punisher for the SVD, but it's another one that's interesting. Like we were kind of worried about this whole like 7.62 PP round, but there's so many choices now. I just don't even think it's necessarily a problem. And because you can't get access to the mutant or the RD until level 4 skier and mechanic, like what are you going to put them in? You're going to put them in an AKMN? Like sure, you can't even buy the 308 adapter. So it just makes it, but you can do it. I think like we were talking about it on stream the other day, and I think a lot of people were saying, you're probably better off with the 103 actually, because like that can't take the 308 adapter, but when you can't use it, you may as well just use the AK103 instead. So I might look at doing a 103 build at some point, trying to use the new PP bullet because it is pretty good. But yeah, what's weird is that like the CBJ cartridge for 300 Blacker actually outperforms PP, both on damage and pen. PP is 55 damage and 41 pen, which like, it looks great. But CBJ is like 58 damage and 43 pen. And has a higher, faster fire rate. So I'm not sure really if PP is going to be that busted. Like, I think it's good, don't get me wrong. Especially when everyone's wearing class 4, because no one can buy the Corant because it's sold out all the time. But when everyone's wearing class 4, it's like really a very good bullet, I think.
I wouldn't mind. I mean, maybe I'll make it there and I'll get to try it for myself. So I do like the MCX. But I do think once you get to the mutants and stuff, it'll be pretty good. The PP ammo, that is.
Yeah.
Because, like, honestly, the AKMs are just, they don't really feel that good to use.
Yeah, they have very low return to center time, and even if you get the recoil low, it's like they just jump a lot, and it just doesn't feel that great. So yeah, I'll have to have a think about that one. The only other ammo, I know this is kind of outside of the broader spectrum of what we've been talking about, but it's like it's broadly relevant. I did see there was a post from Friendly Guy which I was musing about, where he basically said, when he gets shot at with flechette, it feels like you die in 2 shots, and when you use flechette, it's just like confetti cannon, which I appreciate, and I've been in those situations. You get one tapped with flechette through foliage on the top of a hill because someone's just like spamming it at you from 30 meters, and you're like, dude, what the hell? Because like if I shoot somebody like that, they just don't die. I do think though flechette has taken quite a big nerf in general. You can't craft it anymore; you have to buy it, but it's taken quite a big nerf by virtue of the flesh damage changes that came in the middle of last wipe.
Well, that, yeah. I mean, that definitely does play a role.
Nothing has happened to flechette itself, but it does only do 200 damage total when you fire it at somebody. And with the arms now not spilling over like 70, they spill over 49% instead. And the stomach is like 105 or whatever. Like, yeah, if you hit them center mass, they'll still die just as quick, which I've done a couple of times on Factory. But if their arms get in the way, it can really hamper the ability for that round or that cartridge to do what it was meant to do, because the stuff can get absorbed quite easily by PMCs. And like, you miss with some of them, and some of them go in the arms, and some of them do what they're supposed to do and get absorbed by the armor, and it's just sometimes it can feel like really, really lackluster. But I do think that flesh change has made quite a big difference to that, just because it's quite like it's low. I say 200 is not really low damage, but it's low damage compared to all the other buckshots by quite a long way. I mean, I've been using it and it's been working, honestly. But like, I think you just have to be quite close. You just don't want to be, because in the Friendly Glide clip, he's in customs and he's on the train He's like he's like by the train that's the overlook over Old Gas between the sort of warehouses. He's on the bridge. And there's a guy down at warehouse 14 at the door, it's the building with the switch in it. And the guy's at the door that faces onto the trains. And so that's what, I don't know what that is, like 20 meters or something. And he's shooting at it from there. And I think in those situations, that's when it really hurts. Like, yeah, if you're in factory, the guy's like right there, and you shoot him center of mass, it's just like, boom, 8 pellets to the chest. And there's just the armor's in ribbons. But if somebody's, further out, so the man-sized figure is like roughly in the center of the circle of the spray, I think like just the losses from just misses, the flesh damage, the reduction in black limbs, I think it really has made a big difference.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm interested to check Piranha too, because that technically has a bit more damage. Like you trade some armor damage for like real damage. It's like 10 shells or 10 darts, so it's like 250 rather than 200. So I wonder if that feels better. I'm not sure. I'm going to do some comparisons at some point. I've crafted some finally, so I need to do some testing.
That'd be interesting. Yeah, I'm really glad for Sledge took a nerf. It's just like, God, they're just so annoying. Yeah, because it's just like the catch-all bullet. So I think it's good that they got an indirect nerf via flesh damage, as well as the direct nerfs to like crafting and availability and such. So, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, because the craft, for those who didn't realize, the craft for Flechette got replaced with Piranha, like wholesale. It's the same craft, but it now makes Piranha, and you can't get Flechette until level 3 Jaeger, and you have to complete the quest after the office kills in the factory. So it's not like super late. Like I can buy it now, but you have to do that one first before you can buy it, and then run around rocking people's worlds with the good old Flechette.
Instead of Flechettes, now we just use an AVT. Smile.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was
it's like Flechettes. Who needs those? I got my straight standard issue Russian SVT comrade.
Yeah, who needs Flechette when I can fire SMB at 750 RPM out of a 15 rounder? I almost feel like it would be more balanced if they just didn't add the 15 rounder.
I just think what they need, like, if this is the problem with balancing in like BSG's way, is like they want to do things that's like, good balancing decisions, but they also want to balance things around real life, right? Like, back when the Mosin man was playing Tarkov, Pestil was like, well, can't you just like, move the ammo up to another trader or make it less available, like the LPS? And he's like, no, literally on the streets of Russia, you can just pick up LPS off the ground. It's like, well, fuck. I guess we can't do that because, we can't live in a video game where we have to live in real life. So it's so annoying because, like, it's like you can't make this gun a level 4 trader because probably in everyone's closet in Russia, they got an SVT sitting there. I don't know. It's probably not like that. I like the Mosin, but
Mosin maybe, but yeah.
It's just it's stuff like that's kind of annoying. So yeah, they kind of have because they like went to adhere to that in a fairly strict manner. They kind of are stuck in a hard spot a lot of times. I feel like they get pigeonholed by it. Because I think what you could do is probably just make it barter only, and like obviously the AVT needs more than a teapot. I don't know, maybe not. It's kind of hard because if you make it both of them barter only, maybe the demand will spike because the availability has technically been lowered. I mean, not you just change the currency, but because you change it to a item that has to be like found in raid and brought out to be sold on the market, like you're making it less available in a sense.
At least you make it like market driven though.
Yes, that's the other benefit, right? So,
and it's like there's the two sides to it though. There's the demand side, and then as you say, right, it's also influenced by the supply side of like the item. So it's like, okay, well, which item do we want to tie it to? If you tie it to screws, obviously that's stupid, right? So it's always going to be cheap because there's just too many of them. The demand will never be greater than that for screws. Like teapots is probably the wrong item, I would think, because well, maybe it is the right item. Maybe like once people get there, because not enough people can do that barter yet, but once people can, you'll probably see the price of teapots go up as people use it to barter for the AVT. So that is kind of interesting.
But But you might just need to
like
do like teapot and like screws. You know, something that's like a pretty fixed item, and then something that has the potential to spike with like popularity. Because like you don't buy a teapot for like a hideout thing.
Yeah, it's not for anything really, is it?
Yeah.
It used to be for those like funny rigs. I don't even know if it is anything anymore. Because that's also one of the issues with the barter system, though, that BSG has, is that tying the items to too many barters means that it's the highest common denominator is what the item ends up converging to, and it makes any other barter, usually any other barter that it's tied to, useless. Like teapots is 40k. Yeah, it is still the belt AB rig barter, and there's also the one for the 6B3TM. So there's both of those, and then the AVT, and then the LeBev Arms one. I mean, I think they could easily make it 2 teapots.
Yeah, I feel like it's worth 2 teapots.
Like the teapots, I think sell for 40k to therapist, and it just sits at the trader price right now because people just tend not to do the barters that much. But I think it could easily be 80k and it'd be fine.
Because don't you like lose money with the barters most of the time on like the belt rig? At least I know you do.
You didn't, but now I think you do because think of the way they rejigged the trader pricing for it. I think something like that. Like you used to be able to just make money every single time you had that barter off cooldown just by cycling it through, but now you can't.
Shout out to John V.
Yeah, exactly. But this is kind of the thing. It's like no one ever does the belt AB rig barter now, except for when it goes down for some reason and you make money. But like linking that to the ABT now makes that barter invalid. Like it's complicated.
Right.
You kind of need unique mappings, otherwise it doesn't really make sense. But it affects other stuff. And then if it's hideout craft stuff, then it's expensive because people are using it for this random barter. It's like it's weird. It's why they need to rethink that barter system in general, I think, and like have rotating items or something like that, because it's just a bit weird, this static economy. It's just like, why is AVT a teapot always? Why? Just why?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't really make.
Prapper loves his
sense.
teapots, dude. He's got a whole collection now. He's a collector.
How many teapots does a man need? This is the bigger question.
He drinks a lot of tea.
The guy needs an intervention. We've got enough AVTs now. We can go and find out. Storm his compound. Get our teapots back. But no, it's a funny one. It's a funny one. Oh yeah. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens with all of these things. It'll be interesting to see if the AVT continues to be popular. Like the fact that you can't put an optic on it at all does sort of limit it a little bit. It's a little bit like back when we've talked about Flechette in the past, people being like, Flechette's only really broken on factory, which I've also kind of agreed with because of the proximity. It's like you don't see people running around with Flechette on labs, really. You don't see people running around with Flechette on other maps. KS23 sometimes, but not really Flechette. And it's because of factory's got the secret sauce to make Flechette perfect. And I think the AVT sort of falls into that category as well, where like because there's no optic and like it's only got 15 rounds, it's like you're not going to be able to full auto over anything more than about 10, 58 meters, really. It's kind of niche. So
I feel like the full auto is not that great because the convergence is so low on it that it's actually like great at like sub 5, like 10 meters maybe. But then anything past that, I just want to use it as if it was a SVT and not an AVT,
Yeah. Apparently there's a hot update from Logical Solutions. Kappa quest update. Long line is no longer required for Kappa. This is 100% confirmed at the time of writing. Keep in mind, these quest changes are probably only for this wipe due to the shortness of it. There you go. They keep removing all of the requirements for Kappa. They've like removed the level requirement. They've removed long line. They've removed a few other things. I just can't be bothered to find the items. I'm just not sure if I could be bothered. Like I have to shoot people in the head with bolt actions like so much. Like it's even more now. Like I feel people are either in like old Tarkov shooter camp or new Tarkov shooter camp. And Airwing's like an old Tarkov shooter camp guy. Lots of the community are new Tarkov shooter camp guy. And I'm just the guy being like, I don't want to wait for 100 meter shots. And I also don't want to use bolt actions. So just count me out. Like I'm not interested. I'm not interested in getting headshots, even if it's a point blank. I just don't care. No, I think that's the thing. I'm just not that bothered about getting Kappa. I've got better things to do than grind out headshot 5 on every map with a bolty. I just don't want to do it. I just feel like I've got more interesting stuff to do than that, you know? Like I'd rather experiment with other types of content and be doing other things or doing other strategies and stuff rather than doing it. Because it's going to take an inordinate amount of time. And like, I don't need a big time sink in my life. That's not what I need. Like, maybe I'm unusual for Tarkov, like, content creator. I know I am in some ways because I don't stream as much as, nowhere near as much as anyone else. But I just like I don't need that. Like I get to the end of the wipe and it's just like, even if I've like run out of stuff in theory, there's still like things to do. It's just I don't want to do the rest of it. That's why I started doing hardcore last time. So, you know, I just enjoy like trying different stuff and testing out things. Like just grinding out headshots with bolt actions just sounds like my idea of actual hell. As does getting 100-meter plus shots, because that's also very, very painful. But I've just swapping one type of pain for another.
Yeah,
so, I don't know. I was tempted.
Just, you know, think
of it so easy this time, but
think of it as like an opportunity to roleplay as a true sniper, you know, the most legendary Tarkov shooter, a shooter born in heaven, you know.
I'm also combined with like I'd have to learn and I'd actually have to get good. Because my experience in general with bolties, I'm just very inconsistent. I'm not necessarily out and out terrible. Mm-hmm. Like I enjoy myself doing Tarkov Shooter 3, and I got 3 kills. I did Tarkov Shooter 3 in one raid, this wipe again, and killed 3 players in one go on factory with the VPO. So like I'm not necessarily god awful, but I find like I have one raid like that, and then I have like 8 raids where I literally don't kill anybody. It's just like I just find it really frustrating, you know?
Yeah, that is.
To be in like the perfect place, I'm just like I could do it more and I could get better at it, but I just don't really feel like I want to, you know?
Yeah, and to be fair, 5 on each trap is a lot to like just sit there and grind it. I mean, I could see it, but I doubt I'll go for it maybe next swipe, but
like if I was going to do it, I'm definitely doing it with a red dot. 100%. I'll be like, it's going to be VPO APM. Like I probably don't even take a scope. It's just going to be like irons. I'm going to do it at point blank. What if you hit him in
the thorax and one shot them, Giga?
Oh. Dude, I've done that so much recently, actually. Like I was taking a VPO for doing random stuff. I don't even know why. I just did. It's like the only bolty that I actually like. And dude, people are still wearing the Coraculon, and I feel so sad for them because this guy like appeared around the corner on Shoreline, and I just went, we just quick scoped him straight through the Coraculon and just one shot him in the thorax. I was like, man, it's like one of the only rounds in the game that will do that anymore, you know. And you could buy it on the flea. It's wild, like actually wild. 90 damage. APM's a hell of a drug, I tell you. It is. I haven't tried it in the 2-on-5 actually, but I think it would really slap this wipe, especially given that I've kind of got there early-ish. I don't know. Anything else pressing about ammo? There's just like one other thing I was going to talk about in general.
No.
Not ammo related.
I got one quick thing I wanted to shout out before you do your one quick thing is the GamesCon Q&A that Nikita did. There was one, like I was listening to it, pulled it up. I don't know what I was doing, probably working or something. Just listening to it passively. And it wasn't not but 5 minutes in me listening to it that someone asked in the crowd, a very brave chatter, was like, "So Nikita, you know, have you seen this Tarkov SP stuff? You know, has you and your team seen some of the mods and like considered, you know, taking some of their ideas and incorporating into the game, namely recoil?" And I was like, "Oh my god, this guy!" I'm like, you know, Keck saluting him right now, dude. He's just like the bravest chatter, and surprised he didn't get like assassinated by the BSG secret police. And Nikita responded, and he essentially said that, well, you know, with this like, yes, we're aware of Tarkov SP. You know that some of the stuff can't be done; it can only be done in a offline environment, and also we have our own design, you know, principles and whatnot. And so, you know, I was like, oh my god, dude, he's coping so hard, man. He's scoping so hard. And like, okay, to be fair, you know, his first response is kind of like a half truth, right? There's definitely truth in that. Some things that you could do in an offline that are easy to do I'll say that are easy to do in offline would be much more difficult to do in online. Okay, fair point. Doesn't really address what he was saying specifically about recoil, but you know, fair point, whatever.
Yeah.
And then the second part is just like, dude, you just can't convince me that this is how you wanted your like this aligns with your core beliefs in the game. You know, it's like you can have LPS at level 1 because realism, but we can have guns that kick up to that I can't see when I'm shooting at anymore because video game design. I don't know. It's just he said that answer, and I'm not gonna lie, Giga, I just instantly cut off the stream. I was so pissed, dude. I was really pissed. I have like 0 copium hope. It's all been washed away.
It's gone.
Thanks, Nikita.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, it's one of those things, isn't it? I just really do. I just wish that they could learn some of the lessons from these guys. I just do.
I think it's an ego thing. That is my only thing that makes sense to me is Nikita, someone, the company as a whole, whatever. There's just this ego that kind of gets in the way, so to speak, you know?
Yeah, maybe.
How dare someone else mod our game, and then people, because like this is the thing, is like
people enjoy it.
Well, people say it's better, right? And then you know they already get so much flack, unnecessary, like I don't even say unnecessary. It's like undeserving, like not, you know, unfair criticism. Like, why haven't you guys banned the cheaters? Fix the game, bro. Fix the cheaters. Just flip the cheater button. Like they got a question in that same Q&A as like, have you guys thought about fixing the cheaters? Like it was something like this, right? So like, you know, to be fair, they get so much flack that like, yeah, I can kind of see how that could play into it as a whole, you know.
Yeah.
Any criticism is just automatically kind of received poorly because of the shitty criticism they already get on a constant basis. But the only bit of copium that I can muster is that they see your video about the recoil stuff, and you know, while I may not agree with every single individual thing as a whole, it's just like it would be infinitely better than what we have now.
Yeah. I mean, the point of that is not even just like, do this system, it's got to be the best, right. But it's like, here's how to put together something cohesive.
Mm-hmm. Damn, Giga. Just way to burn VSG like that. Come on, bro. Show a little bit of mercy.
Try to design something with the goal in mind and then work backwards in a way that doesn't have discontinuities.
Mm-hmm.
Do that. Not necessarily what I've done, but like I've just done something. It's an approach that doesn't favor one mode over another, that blends one mode seamlessly into another mode. And maybe it's not realistic. I don't really care. But yeah, just do that and try to think about it, in that way, like more structured, because things have just been too often slapdash and hashed out like each thing separately, and then you end up with like weird stuff happening. Or players incentivized to do weird behavior, which is more what I was focused on in that video. Just, if you make it strange, people are going to click the button 1,000 times rather than holding the button down for full auto, you know? Like, put yourself in the player's shoes. Like, it's easy for me because I'm playing the game and it's sort of part of my job to like pick apart the systems. But the system designer needs to put themselves in the shoes of the system user and say, like, what are they going to do with this? Like, I've proposed such a system. How would I break it if I was given this as a third party, you know? And I think a lot of the time that step maybe is forgotten. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what you have testers for. But that was the idea. That was the point, really. So, yeah. Like I even got criticized on that for like keeping in auto compensation and stuff, and it's just like I was like, well, the BSG said they're keeping it, so like,
yeah, and
it's kind of pointless in the video to just be like, get rid of that. When they've said like
Right.
we're not getting rid of it, it's like okay, well we'll make a system that incorporates it. Then that's like a middle ground for everybody. I don't know, you know.
As far as my understanding too is like they kind of have to keep. I mean, they don't have to, but like it's baked into the way they do animations.
Probably.
So it's unless they want to rework that entire section, then I just don't think it's reasonable. And
no,
you know, based off the the mods, the realism mod, it's like you can totally keep that in and make it feel good. So it's like totally viable.
Yeah, it's fine. I was excited to test it. I want them to bring it out for the testing. I'm confused as to what this is going to mean for Arena. And I mean, I've talked about this last time, but
as well.
I think it's dangerous having a Recall rework coming through alongside Arena at the same time. But yeah, I don't know. Like, the only other thing that I was going to talk about just briefly was just touching on Arena a little bit. Like, I watched like half of the Jack Frags video on Arena.
Oh, he did a video for Arena? That's cool.
Yeah, he did. And I think he's almost a good kind of like, what would you say? Like a sort of public sentiment indicator of something like this.
Non-biased.
And he was very positive, or just like an indicator of what, like, you know, the average player who maybe has played Tarkov a bit but doesn't play, like they played a bit of the wipe and then they don't play that much. Like they don't main the game, like they're casual enjoyer of Tarkov. What their view is going to be on this in particular. And he was very positive about it actually, and he was just like, yeah, hell yeah, this game could be great. You know, like he said, you know, I dip in at the beginning of wipe, like play for a week or two, and then I move on to other stuff. And he's like, you know, I'm a variety gamer for my business anyway. But he's like, you know, I just don't feel like I want to spend the time sweating out, you know, all the pen and chance stuff and all the different, and just the time involved as well. Like, I just don't want to do that. But Arena is kind of a way to like get that Tarkov feel and all the mechanics without necessarily having to just like sweat the game like super, super hard, which I think is an interesting one, because I think like us in the Tarkov community, we often think like, oh, who'd want to play with these, like, you know, these mechanics in an arena shooter kind of thing? I know that's been your opinion sometimes, right? And it's like with inertia or whatever. But in some ways, I think maybe for the rest of the FPS community, it might be kind of refreshing. Sort of what I said before, which is that no one in the sort of the Venn diagram of different shooters in the sort of more milsimmy genres really ever made an arcade shooter in that way in particular. It's been like super popular. And it could be a bit of a breath of fresh air, even if it's different and feels weird. People are like, oh, well, that's just Tarkov, but now I can play it in 5-minute rounds. I was like, yeah, I was pleasantly surprised as to how positive he was about like trying the game out, like how cool it could be, how fun it would be being able to play the game and experience it. That a game that I think a lot of people enjoy in principle, but less so in practice, and then try to be able to experience that in a more streamlined format. I think that's pretty positive. I really do. He gave it quite a glowing, like, you know, preview of what his expectation was going to be. I was like, all right, we'll see. I hope that it lives up to expectations.
That reminds me, from the comments from last week's video, they brought to my attention a game I've never heard of, which is called Argo. And I'm assuming you never heard of it. It was a Arma 3 free-to-play game that was developed by Bohemian Interactive that was set to be like, we're going to take basically Arena. We're going to take Arma, or we're going to make it like a competitive, you know, classic shooter thing.
Yeah.
And it didn't do well, but I would say that's mainly because it had a lot of technical issues. Like I watched some videos and like there was like 130 millisecond delay on your inputs, which is just like, that just can't be esport.
Yeah.
You know, I can't even be like competitive, remotely competitive at all. So, yeah, that's it. I was not aware of that. And, you know, I mean, that was quite some time ago, but
yeah, we're gonna have to see. It's cool. I want to go and actually properly re-listen to Glorious's video about Arena and hear what he has to say about it. But yeah, I'm just excited. I am looking forward to it. I really am. I think it's gonna be fun. I can think of so many situations where like coming towards the end of stream and I'm just like, oh, we've got like half an hour. Like I don't really want to do a full raid. We'll just like hop in and do, you know, 5 arena rounds, 5 arena matches, whatever. It could be cool. It's gonna like replace, like I'll probably use it for warm up too. It's gonna replace like what I used to do Scav Factory for. That's how I used to play Scav Factory before Scav Karma. Like, there's not really anything that's replaced that now. Like, the best you can really do is, because playing factory, even then, it's like the queue's kind of too long. You can go offline on horde mode, but like, it tanks your computer and the frame rate sucks, and it's against bots. Like, it's not that fun. Whereas this could be great. You could play like 20 minutes of arena and then hop into EFT, feeling all like limbered up, and then like play a bit at the end. I'm excited. I think I'm going to play, a decent amount. I don't play that much anyway, but I'm going to play a decent amount for what I can. I think it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be good. Just want to try it now.
Yeah, I'm looking for a try. I mean, it's really going to come like the big make or break for me is like the recoil / mechanics portion.
Yeah.
I feel like that's going to be the big make or break for me. Like if they can get recoil in a very, because this is the other thing I saw in the trailers, like one of the guns they were using, or maybe it was like the preview, but it was like a M4, like a ADAR TX-15 something, but like with irons and like a top mounted laser on the top rail, and it like he shot it and he instantly lost sight picture. I was just like, God, if that's like one of my kits, like my only kits, I am going to can't say what I'm gonna do.
Yeah. Let's hope that doesn't happen. I've had my fair share of using Iron Sight M4, and by that I mean a single raid at the beginning of this wipe because I forgot how terrible it was, and I never did it again. So, yeah.
Like I'll be happy to use a diversity guns. It's just like they got to be usable to an extent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So. Yeah. All right. Anything else, bud? Before we close it,
I think that's good for me. Okay. I think that's good. See what next week brings.
Yep. And with that, everyone, we'll wrap it up. Thanks for tuning in as always. See you all next week.
Catch you later.